All right, good afternoon, or I guess good evening, I should say. I ended up getting all my paint put on the boat and stuff that I needed for this anti-foul paint, this bottom paint. And I guess you might wonder why I went with a cupric or a cuprous oxide paint, base paint, like an anti-foul paint, even though this is not going to be staying in the water permanently. Well, I know it sounds like I spent most of my school career eating crowns and paste, but one of my degrees is actually in biology with a focus on ecology. And so I put this on there mainly just so that I could be able to try my best to prevent the spread of invasive species, because I plan on using this in multiple waterways. And of course, this doesn't prevent the need to wash off the boat. Just want to do everything I can. There's three main things I'm a little bit worried about with the spread of. The first one is hydrilla. So it's like a tuberous type weed, and it just grows insane. So like native species and stuff like that are easily choked out by it, because it can grow up to about 8 inches a day. And it can reach a length of about 25 feet. So even a little sprig of it can be able to overtake an area given enough time. What it'll do is it'll just form this giant mat, which will shade out any kind of light and sunlight and stuff like that. That would be penetrating the surface to go down and help the native species and stuff like that on the floor be able to grow. So yeah, what it'll actually do is it can raise the water pH underneath the mat. It raises the temperature, and then, like I said, it just kind of chokes out any kind of native species. And with that, a lot of these native plant species are used by spawning fish and things like that as almost a nursery for baby fish and fingerlings and things like that. So with that not being available to those baby fish, they have a lower chance, I guess, of survivability because there's less places for them to hide. The next one is going to be giant Slovenia, I think. Slovenia. Yeah, I think that's it. I think it actually comes from Brazil, and it kind of does the same thing where it'll actually just choke out any kind of native species by forming a thick mat. Now, I don't know if this is true. It's a folklore, possibly it's a folklore type story or folktale, but apparently it can grow thick enough to actually allow small animals and stuff like that to walk across it. So that's a no bueno thing there. Also, sorry, going back to that hydrilla, if you're from Mississippi or something like that, you've probably experienced it. It can it's so thick that it'll actually wrap up around your prop, and it can cause some issues there, if not damage. Now moving on over there to the next one. I guess it's not a plant, but it's zebra mussels, and luckily I don't have too much of a problem with them down here. But they were introduced to the United States, I think, in the 70s or 80s or something like that. And I'm wanting to say they can produce somewhere around like 100,000 offspring or something like that, each female, over its lifetime. So that's another thing that's a no bueno deal there. And basically it'll adhere to just about anything. It'll cling on to boats. It'll cling on to boats if they're in the water long enough. It'll cling on to docks, any kind of floating structure and stuff like that. And they're very prolific breeders, I guess you would say, and they can easily overtake waterways and things like that. If you got a jet drive boat or something like that, they can actually be able to clog that up. If you have an inboard motor where it's dependent upon the flow of water and stuff like that to cool the engines, then that's going to be messed up. But just want to give you a little bit of an idea why I went with this. I don't mind having a little bit flat black if it does some good in prevention and stuff like that of the spread of invasive species, and I can always just paint the sides a higher gloss black to match my truck. So all right, I know it's a little bit long-winded, but I appreciate it. Thank you.